In this video, I'm going to talk about how to get a map like this and put it into Foundry, and I'm going to show you how to line up the grid so that the map is nice and at the same scale as your tokens, as well as I'm going to show you how to make sure that it's gridless, so your players can literally go anywhere you want. For this example, I'm going to be using this Catholic church here. Now, obviously, as you can see, you have characters. The character tokens are much larger than what is needed here. So I'm going to go in and blow this up, so then the grids, so do you see this grid here, fits in those tiny boxes there. So it's going to look a little different, but we're going to show you how to do that. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and go to the configurations tab in the scene. We get this pop-up here, and there's a couple different items here, but we're looking into the lighting first. We want to make sure, in this case, for how we're using this scene, we want to turn this token vision off. This allows all the players to be able to see the entire screen. It will not activate Fog of War, so that just allows for a little bit of ease when it comes to characters. Next, we're going to go over to the grid tab right here, and you're going to see a couple different options. Right now, you can see that we are in a square grid. Obviously, that we can change this to other things, so we can save stuff and it'll change to a different thing. After you make a change, you do have to save changes before you can see those changes. But for now, we're just going to keep it at square. So we're going to continue save through. And we are going to use this little icon right here. This measuring tool, it will allow us to get this secondary pop-up that will have these red grids. This will allow us to be able to work with these maps and manipulate it in a little bit. So following through here, you can use the shift button to increase or decrease the scaling of the background. You can also use Alt to increase and decrease the grid size. So you can use these and adjust these, as well as just using the straight arrow keys to be able to manipulate the arrows, manipulate the squares to be able to get what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and get this roughed in, get it nice and close, and I'll show you how to get this in a sec. On occasion, you're going to get this pop-up. This basically tells you that the image is bigger than the outline of the grid. So it's just telling you that. Go ahead, click yes when you do that. This will allow the grid to adjust for itself and to be able to understand that it's doing the right thing. So don't sweat when you get that pop-up. You do have to go back into the tool to be able to use it again. So obviously it's not perfect. You have your corners here that are a little off, but overall it gets the job done. If you want to go smaller or bigger, you're welcome to do that, but overall you get the kind of idea. Do keep in mind that when you are working with this, that if you have something selected, so right now I have the background image scale selected, I can't use the other features until I deselect that. So I can obviously use the shift up and down. So, but if I would for example, just use the arrow keys, it does some funky stuff. So just keep that in mind when you're working with this. You can and when you get done, when you like your changes, I can go ahead and save changes. Yep, it'll say this again, and you can go back. Now, something to keep in mind is you have a humongous space in between here. That is your padding percentage. This basically says how much padding you have in between the grid border and the image border. So the reason why this is important is when you're working with the grid and your offset, so it's talking about this offset here, you can move the image offset to the point where it goes outside of the grid to get everything lined up. So that padding allows you to be able to adjust for that so you still have a grid and you don't lose portion of your image. In this case, since I'm pretty centered, I can go ahead and minimize that. I'm going to put a little bit of it just in case. I'm going to hit save. So now you have a nice little padding. Of course, this isn't required. Um, and you do have some images with that. Just make sure that your tokens are in the right spot when you do that. You can just go back and make adjust your settings again and take your tokens and delete them, and then you can go back in and change it once more. Once you get done, obviously this isn't finished, but you kind of get the idea. But now your character, now at the moment, is locked. You don't like that. In this case, you could stop here, but if you want to change to gridless, you can simply just change it to gridless and save changes. Now you can simply just go beyond and go on your merry way. This also works with bigger creatures like the dragons or something like that. It's all good and dandy. A couple things to note when using this is because that your players will see the entire scene, you need to make sure that you're hiding your special monsters that people don't want to see. So you can use this by zooming in, by using this icon right here. This will keep these creatures invisible. Obviously, you can see it as a DM under the admin parental controls, but your players, if you go through and open up your players, obviously your players won't be able to see these creatures. So you can move them along and move them into a specific spot that you want them. And once you want them to go and boost them into what's going on, you can make them visible. Now, since I have everything figured out and you have your party, let's drag some other party members here, and I'm fighting this dragon inside of this church, because why not? I'm going to go ahead and start an encounter. Just for simplicity here, I'm going to create an encounter. Great, so this is 1 of 1, and I'm going to select all the creatures that are inside of that battle. So you can do this by holding shift and clicking them individually, or you can select by dragging and dropping. So after I have this, I'm going to right click one of them, and one of the options here is toggle combat state. And once you have that, then all of these creatures that you've selected are popped into the encounter list. This is not published to the players, not quite yet. You can get dice rolls made if you want to roll dice for your creatures beforehand. You obviously have that option here. Just for this decimal place represents the dexterity. So to offset that, hey, if someone has a higher dexterity, then their those 2 digits there on the right side of the decimal place, that will filter them so it's the higher dexterous characters are able to start before if there's a tie. You can also go in, and if you want to go ahead and change their value in here, you can simply just change it. If you're rolling in front of you, you can just input there. Once the combat begins, you can go ahead and roll for NPCs, roll for all. So I'm going to roll for all. I get all of these different things, as well as when you begin combat, you have the opportunity for the players to also roll. But then you start in combat. In this case, Dravik goes first, and he can continue his playing. Um, when the person is done playing, you can done with their turn, they can either hit start. There will be a button down here for on the player view that's saying, "Hey, I'm done with my turn." If they don't do that, and it's in this case it's Mac's turn next, you can go ahead and hit to the next turn. When it comes to the hit points, obviously you can do the math and say if I was dealt 100 damage, I can simply just go ahead and it'll do the math for me. If I have something weird like 56 damage, I can go ahead and get rid of that and put in 56 damage, and it'll take that 56 damage also. You just need to make sure that you put that minus side, or sometimes you can, if the dragon healed, you can heal for 20 points. As you just need to make sure that you have that plus or minus sign. Hopefully this helps a little bit with knowing how to run Foundry, as well as to get the gridless maps going, so you're able to have some fun with your crazy maps. Thank you.